Hello, Meg here, and I'm your Monday substitute host here in the Pagan Perspective. So yes, there is a raven cackling at me, cawing at me in the background. He's been doing it for about 10-15 minutes now, so I'm just going to let him be. Sorry if that annoys any of you, but I'm out in nature, so it is what it is. So this week we get to choose our own topic, and so I have chosen to go with one of Yeka's questions where she asks about permaculture and our environment. And so it entails quite a few questions, so I'll just read them off to you. Are you familiar with permaculture? Short answer, yes. Does it influence your beliefs? Absolutely. What ecosystems and climate do you live in? How does this influence your path? And how might someone incorporate their local environment into their practice? So I thought this was a very good topic for me, seeing how I have recently come back to my original career or job choice. So last year I was living in Homboy, well, last year, but because my years start in September, you see, so it's last year for me, but it was actually recently, over the summer and last winter. But I had taken on a job to work for the state as an English and biology teacher. The state was in desperate need of some teachers, and so they called out for some help. I had the criteria that they wanted, the diplomas and whatnot, and so I did a year in public schooling as an English and biology teacher. Mostly English, if I'm honest, which I am. So there you go. I was mostly doing English. But now they no longer have the need, and I didn't really want to continue in that job anyway. I had before that been a teacher in the private sector, which I enjoyed a bit more because I was a lot freer to do as I wish with my students. Whereas in the public sector, we're kind of controlled by the state. They kind of tell us what we can and cannot teach and whatnot. So I really felt the need that it was time for a change. It's in with my solar cycle anyway, and so I said I'm going to go back to my original passion of nature, agriculture, and biology and whatnot. So I have, luckily enough, called up my old boss, and she immediately took me back without any hesitation, and so now I'm back in that sector, and I love it. So permaculture is a huge part of my job, because what is my job? My job is I am part of a cooperation that we help farmers turn the farm over into organic farming. Or if they have livestock, we try to help them build up an organic livestock. So we incorporate a lot of permaculture into it. Here in Europe, in general, organic farming involves a lot of permaculture. Not as much as I would love it to be, but that's why I'm here, and I'm going to fight for it, and hopefully help get closer and closer. Even if I don't see the results, someday I'm hoping that my daughter will, and that generation, so on and so forth. So that's my job. So I'm back here in Paris because, when I'm in the office here in Paris. But we also have some stores where we sell the products of these organic farms, or farms that are in transition, to help raise money for them to pay for all the certificates and all the work that is needed to help them switch over to organic and help them build up the permaculture on their land, and so on and so forth. And so it's a lot of involvement. So we kind of have this commercial side where we run these stores that sell their products and get them, have people get to know their products and actually get to have this demand for their products. We also help the name is escaping me, but it's where people can kind of participate in the farm, where they get the baskets at the end of the week or at the end of the month of whatever percentage of the farm that they participated in. And then the bureaucratic side of it, is where I'm in the office. I'm on the phone trying to get new producers, trying to say, hey, you got a nice piece of land there, let's think about organic, shall we? I'm on the phone a lot with farmers and stuff, and then I'm also on the phone with legal, trying to see what we have to do legally to get these people, paperwork wise, to get them started and going. We work with a lot of startup farms, with a lot of young people that want to go back into the old ways and really build up this ancient technique of permaculture and really following nature rather than trying to go against nature, trying to mold nature to our needs. Rather, we can just go with nature. That's what permaculture is about. And sometimes I am actually at the farms themselves. So I do some traveling in Ile-de-France, where I have to go around and visit the farms and see how they're doing, talk one-on-one, how's it going, what can we do better, what are your ideas, anything changed, so on and so forth. And so permaculture is now a huge part of my professional life as well as my personal life, because yes, it absolutely does impact my beliefs, because I'm just, I'm with nature. Now I have a gentleman coming up, so he might get in the video a little bit here. An older gentleman. He's probably going to ask me what I'm doing. They're usually very curious when I'm talking to my phone. So does it influence your beliefs? Absolutely. I mean, I think as a pagan, I don't know, maybe I'm spreading the umbrella too far and kind of assuming that you all are kind of on the same idea and path that I am, in that nature is what I live for. And so for me, everything that I do is for and with nature. So it absolutely does influence my path. And then what ecosystems and climate do you live in? So when I was living in Rambouillet, I was in, there was forest all around. Rambouillet is one of the biggest national forests in France. And so it's a reserve. So it's protected. And so you have wild boar, you have deer, and you have kangaroos. There's a story for you. Because there was a wealthy gentleman once, of an earl or something like that, who brought some kangaroos over, and they escaped and they went wild. And so now there are kangaroos in the forest. We have wild kangaroos in the forest of Rambouillet. And so yeah, so that was, I mean, it was easily enough a part of, that was my ecosystem, I mean to say. But now I'm back in Paris. I'm lucky enough to come back into the district that I love of Paris. It's my favorite district of Paris, which is the 15th, the 15th. And I really love it here. It's a very big district, but it's very green. It's one of the greenest districts in Paris. They're very keen, very big on having their parks, and they really want to seclude it. I mean, if you look around here, you can't see any of the buildings, even though they're not that far, But around the park, buildings can only be so high, and so close to the park. And also, the reason why I came specifically to this park is because they have their own hives to pollinate the park. And beyond the hives, I don't know if you can see it, but over there is a vineyard. And so here, in September, they have a Fête du Parc, a park festival for this park specifically, where you can come and you can taste and buy the honey and the wine that they produce here. Afterwards, I mean, we can all debate. It's not certified organic, but we can all debate regarding the pollution of the city and whatnot. Do you really want to drink that wine? Do you really want to eat that honey? But it is what it is. I think it's a start. It's a good start in the right direction. So baby steps, bit by bit, we'll get there. So yeah, so I love this. I love the initiative, because it's not easy to go this route in this world today, when everything's about money and business and so on and so forth. It's not easy to say, well, you know what, we're going to take this chunk of land, we're not going to build anything on it because we're going to keep it as a park, and we're going to pollinate it with our own bees, and we're going to have a vineyard, and we're going to make wine, and so on and so forth. So yeah, so that's why I brought you here today. And yeah, so that's where I'm at now. So a lot of people say living in the city, you can't be very pagan. I've had a lot of those kind of remarks, and I'm like, well, pagan's in the heart. It's not where you are. You kind of make your way with what you've got, and you could be in the middle of the desert and still have some sort of nature worship, because the desert is still nature. So you don't have to be surrounded by green. You can have a bit of concrete here and there, or sand, and still be able to worship nature. I don't see the problem in that. So how do I incorporate my ecosystem on my path? is that I am sure I walk everywhere, and wherever I walk, if there's a way to take the park, I take the park. If there's a way to take, we have a lot of what's called a petit sentier or a petit chemin, and so it's just these little pathways in the middle of buildings or along buildings or old railways that they kind of turn into parks, if you will, but it's not a real park. It's just kind of a green pathway that you can take to get from point A to point B. And I always try to take these ways to get to where I'm going or to get back home. And so that's my way of connecting back to nature. Even though sometimes it still frustrates me that you know, I put my feet on the ground and I'm trying to do a bit of grounding, but I can't because the ground here in the city is hollow. We have, if it's not the subway underneath us, it's another city. Because in Paris, after I think it was the First War, they decided we're going to build all the streets of Paris. We're going to build them under as well. That way, if ever there's another attack, we can go under and we can still take all the proper streets to get to where we need to go and whatnot. And so the ground here, my point is, the ground here is very hollow. If it's not the metro or the underground streets or the cave, as they call them, or the cellars, or the catacombs, which plenty of those around here. You know, it's just hollow ground, so it's not very easy to do grounding. But I have a lot of trees. I have a lot of trees to hug and wander at, and all these wildflowers still come. I have the bees that I can, what's the word I'm looking for? But I can be with the bees. There you go. I find these little respites of nature here and there, and I bask in them because I know how special it is to have that in the middle of a concrete city. And so yeah, it just makes it even more special, if you will, because of living in the city. And how might someone incorporate their local environment into their practice? Just as I said, just try to be grateful for the little bit of nature that you do have if you're living in the city as I do. And, you know, really take that in. And as far as permaculture goes, how can you incorporate permaculture into your belief? If you're lucky enough to have a house where you have some land, you know, incorporate permaculture in it as easy as that. After that, what do I do personally is I try to help what's the word I'm looking for? Supports organizations such as this that transform our parks into permaculture environments. And my job is to help people transform their land or their already existing farm into a permaculture working farm. Yeah, I'm the activist, as I spoke about in my last video, I believe it was, or the video before. I think it was the last one. I'm an activist, so it's part of my beliefs where I have to be an activist. I have to get the word out there, and I have to fight for the environment. Just yesterday was the big march for the environment here, and so yes, I participated. I didn't participate a lot, to be honest with you, because I had my daughter, but I was there for a bit, and I was like, yes, we need to fight for the environment. We need to, you know, there's this whole climate change thing, but it's not just about climate change, really. It's about, I mean, everything, really. And so yeah, so just being the activist, for me, that's a part of my belief system as well. I cannot follow this path without being active in the political environment as well. Everything is connected. Everything is connected. Everything plays a part in this spider web. Every thread is connected. So, yeah. So there you have it. There was another question that I thought was pretty good by Nick's Bird, who asked about path comparisons. I think I might have to do a personal video on that one, on my personal channel, I mean. And then there was another question about ethics, again, another video, because I wanted to do one about that too. And then one about craft supplies. I think I could just simply say, you know, you have everything that you need in nature. So just don't fall into consumerism of it, and I'll keep it at that. I think maybe it deserves its own video as well. So I will leave you there. I have a little guy coming up. He wants to see the beehives, so I'm gonna let him have his time now. And I'll leave you there. So thanks for watching, and I will see you next time. And until next time, safe journeys.